Mid-sip of my morning coffee, my hose sputtered like a punctured tire, then went bone dry. Strange, considering I own the creek that waters this entire valley. It was a scorching July, 100 degrees for days, and my slice of Eden chickens, heirloom tomatoes, and all relied on the spring-fed stream winding past my cabin. My land sat just beyond the manicured grip of shady oaks, an HOA so pretentious its name sounded like a candle scent. For 7 years, I'd lived quietly on this plot my grandpa left me, dodging the nosy retirees and lawn Nazis next door. That peace shattered when Diane Voss, a former realtor turned HOA tyrant, moved in 4 houses down the ridge. Diane's face was a permanent sneer, like she was perpetually sniffing sour milk, and her attitude was sharper than attack. She'd been obsessed with my property, snapping photos over the fence, reporting fake code violations, even climbing a ladder to snoop on my compost heap. But cutting my water line in a drought? That was a declaration of war. I traced the hose up the hill, heart pounding, the ground soft and freshly trenched. My irrigation tapped a pipe linked to a filtered creek inlet, buried and untouchable. Or so I thought. The pipe was sliced clean, zip-tied with a neon green tag. Violation removed per order. Order from who? I stormed toward the HOA border, passing the ancient maple marking my land. There stood Diane, arms crossed, sunglasses low, sweating through her mint green cardigan like she was posing for a How to Wreck Lives brochure. "What the hell are you doing?" I barked. She didn't blink. "You've been overwatering during restrictions. As HOA president, I'm enforcing compliance." I reminded her my land wasn't under her thumb. She smirked. "Water doesn't care about fences, Jake. You're setting a bad example." She strutted off like she just won a debate, leaving me with a severed pipe and a rage boiling hotter than the sun. Then it hit me like a thunderclap. Diane had no clue she'd cut the line fed by my creek, the same creek that meandered through my yard, past my coop, under my bridge, and only then trickled into shady oaks, feeding their fake turf, rose beds, and pudding green dreams. They had no well, no backup, just sprinklers sipping my water. I crouched by the broken pipe, a grin creeping up. For once, I held the ace. If Diane wanted a water war, I'd be the general. By dusk, I'd patched the pipe with PVC and duct tape, enough to keep my garden alive. But the real fight was coming. I dug out Grandpa Will's property records from a waterproof pouch in my desk, crisp deeds proving 2 things. My boundary stretched 12 feet past where the HOA thought, and I owned the springhead and water rights, notarized 80 years ago, reaffirmed in 2003 after Dad died. These weren't flimsy rules, they were ironclad law. I marked my line with red paint on 4 oak posts and staked flags in the dirt. Trespassers would know they'd crossed me. Near the pipe, I taped a note to a jar. Water flows where it's wanted. Next morning, I strolled downstream. Shady Oaks was wilting, lawns fading, sprinklers clicking dry, hoses limp. Diane's cronies huddled in her driveway, fanning themselves, pointing uphill. She locked eyes with me. I waved. That afternoon, a guy in a khaki uniform, some HOA-hired contractor, trespassed to inspect unauthorized changes to shared infrastructure. I asked for a warrant. He had none. I told him to beat it or meet the sheriff. He bolted. That night, by lantern light, I studied the creek's burble. With a few tweaks, I could reroute it entirely, legally, on my land. No dam, no crime, just a nudge to skip their culvert. At dawn, knee-deep in the stream, I got to work. The creek split naturally near a rocky bend where I'd skipped stones as a kid. I stacked flat stones and logs, subtle enough to pass as erosion control. By noon, the flow leaned left, curving through my woods, away from shady oaks. Their lawns would be dust by week's end. I watched the HOA like a vulture. Their newsletter, Drought Dos and Don'ts, preached water-saving tips while their koi pond turned to sludge. At the diner, a resident moaned about shriveled tulips. Diane hadn't faced me since the pipe, but she was scheming. I checked my markers daily, hid a trail cam in a birdhouse, and planted a sign where the creek forked. Private spring, no HOA access. It was polite, but lethal in Diane's world. Days later, I caught a polo shirt snooper with a clipboard, pretending to study daisies. He claimed to be charting flow patterns for a community group. No card, no agency, just a quick exit when I snapped his plate. They were building a case, but I'd already sent the county my deeds, GPS data, and drone shots time-stamped and sealed. The HOA's panic grew. Whispers hit town. One board member questioned Diane's power. Another quit paying dues. I didn't gloat, but I didn't cry for them either. They'd cut my water without warning. Consequences sting. Then, footprints appeared by my rocks fresh, from a nighttime snoop. Someone had nudged a stone. I upped the ante. Motion sprinklers tied to my barn's tank, filled with garlic oil and skunk spray safe, but vile. At 2 a.m., they triggered. Footage showed Diane's lackey, a smug guy in loafers, soaked and flailing in mud, cursing as he fled. I laughed till my sides hurt, saving the clip for trespassing charges. Shady Oaks Creek was a trickle now, their green-belted desert. Diane's vandalism, town hall flopped when residents grilled her on digging rights. She dodged, red-faced. I sipped lemonade on my porch, deeds ready for the county if needed. The real power was silence letting their pressure cook. By sunset, I stood in my orchard, the rerouted creek sparkling through peach trees. Deer drank nearby, birds sang. Peace wasn't victory yet, but it was mine. The heat worsened, and Shady Oaks lawns crumbled to ash. Their newsletter begged for emergency water trucks. I found deeper boot prints near my Cam Diane and a plumber, plodding. 2 days later, I caught the plumber knee-deep, forcing the flow back. My phone recorded as I demanded his permit. He mumbled, environmental regulation, then fled when I mentioned the sheriff. I posted the video online, saving my tomatoes. It went viral. Locals roared. That's Nate's Creek. Diane's lost it. Sheriff Boone visited, boots worn, mustache thick. I showed him everything footage, maps, deeds. He took copies, promising to warn the HOA. One more stunt, he said, and Diane faced fines. I added cams, hung reflective CDs to spook night prowlers, and upgraded my sprinkler with fish emulsion and peppermint oil. Days later, it nailed another of Diane's goons, who rolled downhill, reeking. Word spread. The general store buzzed with folks buying me coffee for the tale. Diane filed a county complaint, claiming I hoarded resources. I countered with my packet maps, rights, videos. The clerk chuckled, filing it. Diane's HOA meeting tanked. Only 3 attended, 1 resigned, another waved my video, demanding answers. Her reign was crumbling. I hired a pro surveyor from out-of-county drones, satellites, the works. Their report was bulletproof. The creek was mine, rerouted legally. I laminated it, posting it by the creek with a sign, no unauthorized access. Violators recorded, possibly sprayed. Diane marched up Sunday, demanding a civil talk. I said civility died when she cut my pipe. She hinted at water sharing, but I held firm. Trust was gone. Her perfect bun was fraying, her stride weak. She was sinking. The county's ruling arrived gold-sealed, confirming my exclusive rights. I posted copies everywhere. Gate, barn, HOA bulletin board with a note. Learn something. Shady Oaks chat exploded. Diane's temporary ruling lie flopped when the water district exposed their mooching sprinklers. Diane's lawsuit vote failed. 4 of 7 members bailed. A resident suggested an apology. Diane stormed out. Their lawns were dead. One lady's green paint job melted. The environmental board rejected Diane's complaint no jurisdiction. She sent a flowery letter begging for a deal. I didn't reply. She wanted control, not peace. An HOA consultant urged xeriscaping, calling their lawns negligent. Diane spun it as green, but nobody bought it. My lush garden mocked their dust. A news crew filmed my creek, deeds, and signs, airing a calm expose. Comments roasted Diane. Never mess with a farmer. She was ousted as president, replaced by Mr. Ellis, a quiet ex-principal. He sent a respectful letter. I replied with the ruling, clear as day. I finished rerouting the creek 3 days with a backhoe, stone-lined, looping through my orchard to a marsh, away from Shady Oaks. No more free water. It wasn't revenge, it was balance. Diane watched from afar, silent. Weeks later, my land thrived, peaches heavy, bees buzzing. I built an underground irrigation system, solar-timed, feeding every root. At the market, folks marveled at my harvest. Shady oaks switched to sagebrush and gravel, honest now, not fake. Diane moved away, silent. A magazine ran my story for pages. No heroes or villains, just truth. Ellis asked for a creek tour for residents. I agreed, barring Diane. They learned, listened, healed. One said, "We're just borrowing this land." I nodded. It keeps score. At dusk, on my bench by the creek, carved with "Let It Flow," I sat with my dog, Scout, old but loyal. Coyotes howled, stars blinked. The water sang, "Steady, mine." Peace wasn't given, it was fought for, earned, and sweeter for it.